Here we are on December the 15th in the year of our Lord 2025. Got a lot of good information for you tonight, so let's go ahead and click over here. Murtech on Rumble. This is my Rumble channel. This is the video that we're going to be talking about tonight. My episode 1777. It says upcoming, but as you know, you are actually watching it. So let's go ahead and get into that. Let me close the live chat. Come down here and click the Show More button and expand out the description box. Okay, we have information from Benny Johnson, McWattersaffect, X22 Report, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do need to give some shout outs to Noelle Lee PG, just started following my channel. BB Go Home 2, just started following my channel. Flowers Are Beauty, just started following my channel. Princess Altilia 7 just started following my channel. And D Kirk 0514 just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in tonight, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Ms. Flintstone 17 reposted my daily news wrap-up from last night. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1776 from last night. Susan 080 commented on my episode 1776. Debbie BS reposted my extra 561A. Cotton Ball 31 and Debbie BS commented on my extra 161B. And Debbie BS commented on my extra 161C. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my videos, getting the word out, and for your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I certainly appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There you go. There you go. All right, and by the way, just FYI, right here, the video that you're watching right now, if you slide down and click this little thumbs up button, that means a lot to me. I would really appreciate that. So don't forget. All right, let's see what Benny Johnson has to say regarding GOP chairman demands that Ilhan Omar fraud investigation, shocked at net worth. She earned $30 million. Wonder how many taxes she paid on that. Huh? I wonder. You know, you would think she would have had to pay maybe $10 or $15 million in taxes. One would think, but I don't know. We'd have to check with the IRS on that. Let me go ahead and click on this and see what Benny has to say. Oh, he's starting off with one of his memes. Bring the diesel. Bring the diesel!
Chairman, thank you so much for being on the program. I don't like the Midwest getting this rep. We are not fraudsters in the Midwest. Where I come from, you leave your jacket or leave your phone or leave your laptop in a restaurant. You can come back that night and you'll still be there.
Yeah, exactly. Ohio's not Minnesota. So look, when you're talking about potentially billions of dollars, I really appreciate the fact that Chairman Comer and the Oversight Committee and committee I happen to be a part of, that we're going to look into this and see what we can find. But this is starting, as we just saw, as you just played, this is starting to add up to wow, this is real. I think a couple of problems. One, when you throw this much money out there, the potential for fraud is real. I mean, this is what the Biden administration did, just kept sending money out with these COVID programs. And then two, it looks like, based on what we've seen so far, that the governor and his team, they really didn't want to dig into this. Were there political concerns, political reasons why they didn't want to, pay no attention to what you see behind the curtain, nothing going on there, that they took that attitude? At least that's what it appears. We'll find out as our investigation unfolds.
So what is Ilhan Omar's potential tie-up with all of this? She has great connections and what seems to be large structural connections to some of the fraud organizations, the Feed the Children group, some of these restaurants that were overcharging PPP. There's also an enormous amount of Medicaid fraud that has just been charged by the DOJ. What do you think will happen with Ilhan Omar? She's out right now saying that effectively Somalis are the victims here, and doing her best to lie on this issue.
I mean, we'll find out. I mean, that's why you do investigations, is to get to the truth. There's all kinds of things swirling out there right now, but we'll dig in there and we'll get to the truth, and then we'll see what the Justice Department does, if anything here. But I do think it was interesting that graph you put up. I think it was, I don't know if you tweeted or someone tweeted it, where it showed her net worth over the last, just looks like the last 6, 7, 8 years increased dramatically. I don't know how that happens. And if that's accurate, that is certainly a concern. I just don't, again, I don't know how accurate that is, but if it is accurate, I think that's something you got to look into as well.
Are you in favor of banning stock trading for members of Congress?
I don't trade stocks personally, so I've not weighed in on it. But if that vote, that bill comes up, I would support it.
Would you be in favor of Congress passing? I mean, because this has been like a major question that we've had about the relocation of the Somali populations into such tight bubbles in American cities to like change them inextricably and forever. And this happened in Ohio with Haitian populations. Obviously, this was a big problem leading up to the election. How does Congress like make rules to try and prevent that? What is sort of the approach right now with the Republicans in the House towards immigration reform?
Well, I think you got to look at it as far as the national policy immigration reform. You know, we had the bill last Congress, which reformed how our asylum law works, a better standard than just this defining credible fear in an appropriate way. We dealt with the Flores decision. We dealt with border security. Of course, this Congress, President Trump, and the work that we have done in the big, beautiful bill, the border is now secure. I mean, it largely was secure with President Trump in his first 3-4 months in office. And then we allocated resources so that there are the resources there to make sure the border stays secure. So we're Congress's national policy. I don't think you want to get into specific policy about where people can live, where they can settle. I think that is a local concern. Our job is to make sure our immigration laws are done right. We fixed some of the various visas we have. We have all these visas. I think there's some work that we can still do there. But right now, of course, the main thrust of last year's election, main issue was securing the border, and that has been done. I think that's a huge compliment to President Trump in his ability to do what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, I say this Republican majority, but it's getting knocked down one member at a time. And now there's rumors that there's going to be a bunch of other retirements that may put into threat the actual Republican majority in the House. What's actually going to happen? You're in a lot of these meetings. You're very close with leadership. Is this actually going to happen? I mean,
no.
Punchbowl's out saying there's going to be 20 resignations.
No, that's not going to happen. Look, we've had a couple. We just had a big win last week. Matt Van Epps, great candidate. I actually supported early on in the primary, 10-way primary. We endorsed him early. Great guy, West Point grad, helicopter pilot, kind of guy you want coming into Congress and carrying out the agenda that the American people elected President Trump and us to do. So I think we'll be fine. Now, the midterms are always tough. Everyone knows this. When you're the party in power in the White House, midterms elections are typically difficult for that party. But I think we can prevail for a number of reasons. One is the big, beautiful bill will start to take effect. I mean, the tax cuts and the regulatory reform, all the good things we did in there, I think people are going to start feeling that the component in the tax code that encourages school choice, empowering moms and dads to send their kid to the best school, the school that they think is going to give them the best education. That is all good. I think second is just the idea that, remember, not all Democrats are crazy, but the left that controls their party is. They still have all these crazy positions on issues. You know, they want to defund the police. They want to have an open border. They want men to compete against women in sports, and on you can go. So I think you can still point out we're the party of common sense. They're the party of crazy. We have good candidates like Matt Van Epps. The big, beautiful bill kicks in. And then finally, I think what helps us in these upcoming midterms is President Trump. His energy, his ability to go to key districts, to turn out the vote, to do the telephone town halls, just like he did for Matt last week in that race in Tennessee. I think that's the thing that will allow us to sort of defy history and maintain the majority in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, as chairman, you obviously are somebody who has been driving for oversight and transparency for now the better part of decades. I'm not sure how successful DC has been of coughing up its secrets, but there is something that broke just last week that, well, it shocked, I guess, the world. The January 6th pipe bomber, something that we've talked about pretty extensively on this show, something that sort of broke a lot of people's ideas about what was potentially going on here. Seems very confusing. It seems like the information is getting muddled. The media's out saying he was a Trump supporter. His family's out saying he wasn't. What's going on here? What was your initial reaction here to Brian Cole?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is just good old-fashioned police work, and that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and this Justice Department actually did their job and found and told us who this individual is. You know, all during the Biden administration, I used to say it sort of half joking, but there was, you know, like in any good humor, there's some truth behind it. It was like, who planted the pipe bomb, who leaked the draft opinion on the Dobbs decision, and who put cocaine at the White House. And the Biden administration can never give us answers to any of those questions. Well, here we have the Trump administration, the Bondi and Patel Justice Department saying we found the guy who did this. Now, what, you know, almost 5 years ago. So this, I think, is a big. That to me is the key takeaway. We'll find out all the details about this individual, why he did this terrible thing. But I think the real takeaway is Kash Patel and his team were able to do good old-fashioned work, the kind of work the FBI is supposed to do, and find this guy versus the kind of thing we saw with, you know, Director Wray and the Garland Justice Department, which was the weaponization of the Justice Department against we the people.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. I'm about halfway through this, but I want to move on with some other information. Now, this guy here, okay, they say he's a Trump supporter. Now, let's just step back, and from the information that I've shared with you and I've received, is that they knew who this guy was, but they didn't go out and get him. Kash Patel and Bondi said there was no new information. It was all right there. They just basically, you know, put it together and went out and picked the guy up. Now, if he was a Trump supporter, don't you think, based on historical data on what they did to Trump supporters, like throwing thousands of Trump supporters in jail because they happened to be in Washington, D.C., they didn't have to go to the Capitol. If they were in Washington, D.C., they went to jail. Okay? Or praying in front of an abortion clinic. You go to jail. Okay? So don't you think that they might have picked this guy up if he was a Trump supporter? That if they weren't in on this guy would have been in jail? You know, just kind of like Ray Epps, where we've got to storm the Capitol. Oh, and he got a misdemeanor trespassing charge and was let out. While other people that were Republican supporters went to jail. Utterly amazing. Okay, as you can see here, this video does come from Benny Johnson. It's on his YouTube channel. I'm subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and move on to McWattersaffect. Whistleblower exposes Maine, that's in the state, M-A-I-N-E, Maine Medicaid fraud tied to Somali militia funding. Unfreaking believable. Now this is the thing that's going to be really, really interesting and really touchy, how this is going to be handled and if there are going to be any people prosecuted, you know, like the higher-ups, or if they're going to be sheltered. We'll have to see. Let's check it out.
أنا مركان مقتنع وأنا قربها جو قارن كان بحني دقالها لصوت درية قيدا مضى يحبض يرساس يعنتظر الوضع يحكي بحني.
Been reaching out, you know, internally, blowing the whistle since 2024, early 2024, and you know I wasn't getting anywhere. So when I saw his reporting in March of 2025, and Gateway was talking about it internally, how it was just some racist reporter, you know, reporting this stuff about them, I just made the connection, and I just, you know, I hadn't known about him or the Maine Wire or any of this stuff. So I had my own intuition that led me to find what I found.
And how much? What do you think? What do you think's the extent of the fraud?
Oh man, it could be in the millions. The audit revealed almost $1 million back in 2018 in overbilling, and our programs had grown significantly since then.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And today we got several videos for you talking about what's going on in Maine. It's similar to what's going on in Minneapolis and Minnesota, but it's a little bit smaller. It's not in the billions, it's more in the millions. And it has to do with this one company there called Gateway Services, Community Services. And it was started by this guy who is Somali. He's a refugee that came out in 2009. And let's just say they're not on the up and up. Who's surprised?
Yeah, you're going to be very interested in this. Stick with us. We would really appreciate if you'd like, share, and subscribe.
Now, the first video we have is a whistleblower, the same one that was in that second video that I played at the beginning. And he's telling some more details about what's going on in that company when he was working there. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video.
I thought that we were doing the right thing this whole time. And the more I started digging, the more I started finding. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, that this was happening and that I was part of this.
Chris Bernardini spent 7 years working for Gateway Community Services, a Somali American-led health services contractor in Maine. Bernardini alleges Gateway oversaw a system in which false records were filed about client visits. He says they charged taxpayers for providing services that were never performed.
We started getting some clients saying that, calling and saying, you know, months later that their client owed them hours. They hadn't come in for these shifts and stuff, but I had a time card for it.
And they were billing for it.
They were billing for it.
In March of 2022, Gateway received a notice of violation from the state's Maine Care Services Program Integrity Unit based on an audit of records taken at random from January 2017 to December 2018. Gateway overbilled by an estimated $904,000.
In your professional opinion, what you saw was fraud.
Absolute.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
But Bernardini says when the pandemic hit, it got worse.
I started seeing.
That seems to be a pattern here. When the pandemic hit, they turbocharged the fraud all over the place in order to get more money, because more money was infused into these healthcare initiatives to try to get people to go and get the COVID shot.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny, but the more money available, the more graft that went on.
Bonuses, $2,000 bonuses going to these staff that had only been with us for 2 weeks, never worked a shift with a client. And yet the PPP loan comes, you're giving $2,000 away like they're lollipops at a doctor's office.
In April of 2024, Bernardini wrote to the Department of Homeland Security seeking whistleblower protection. They referred to back of Maine. Nearly a year later, Gateway fired Bernardini.
Of course, he asked to be a whistleblower while Biden was in office, and his DOJ rejected it and told him go and deal with Maine instead. And that tells you everything you need to know about what was going on. And the Biden administration, they're facilitating this in order to buy people off for votes in elections.
I think you're right about that. I think that's the reality. And I wonder, when did we just start convicting or going after whistleblowers? I thought that was against the rules. I thought if you were a whistleblower, you got protection. But as everyone can see, not just in this case, but other cases with FBI agents, there really is no protection.
The company's founder and CEO is Abdullahi Ali, a Somali American who, while at the time serving as executive director for Gateway, last year ran for president of Jubaland, a state in Somalia's south that borders Kenya. Last week, he posted on X, "I make no apologies for building a successful business in Maine, working hard to earn a living, earning my PhD, giving back to my Maine community, and running for office in Jubaland. I am proud to contribute my hard-earned dollars to support my people back home." We reached out to Ali for comment multiple times. We even came to Gateway to try and speak with him.
Hello. I'm with News Nation. My name is... No comment? Is Mr. Ali here? Can we speak to Mr. Ali?
Republican State Senator Matt Harrington has called on Governor Janet Mills to investigate.
It's just an absolute insult to the Maine taxpayer. That we know that there's this Medicaid fraud going on by Gateway Community Services. We're seeing nothing from the Mills administration on this, and I think it's appalling.
I still can't believe it. I still can't believe I took so much of my time and put so much of my life into this agency that just tossed me aside. It's caused me to reflect a lot and, you know, try to trust my gut more and speak up more when I see something. It's not right.
He got in the way of what I assume at minimum in the state of Maine is $1 million scheme to rip off the government with Medicaid, Medicare, whatever. I'm not surprised by it. What I'm surprised by is that the whistleblower is the one they always go after.
What I find interesting is the congressman in that video who is surprised that Mills, the governor of, is not doing anything about this. Well, if you look online, she has a picture with him and her in the same picture when she was campaigning. And I guarantee he donated to her campaign. So I would say there's a political reason why she doesn't want to get involved in this. Not only that, when it comes to the owner, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm not even going to give it a shot. But I'll tell you this right now. This guy right here is really interesting because that ex-post that he made that they showed, he's actually in Kenya right now. He's been there for several years because he's trying to become a warlord or the president of Jubaland, which is, they explain where that's at when it comes to Somalia. It was once part of Somalia. And he wants to become president of that place. Not only that, he's gave them a lot of money when it comes to the army, not only with food or medicine, but also ammunition and other weapons. So not only is he facilitating money, he's facilitating weapons. He's an arms dealer.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, when you called him a warlord, that's what he basically is. I mean, down there, might makes right, and he'll win the election eventually. It's a matter of time and money.
Now, guys, I want to give you some more context about this guy. I got another video right here talking all about him. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
The wannabe Somali warlord here in question is, his name is Abdullahi Ali, and he came to the United States in 2009 as a Somali refugee. He obtained citizenship. It's been reported on.
What's weird about how he obtained citizenship, though, he did it in the same year that he came here as a refugee, which is unheard of.
Yeah, you think this guy might be connected politically a little bit?
By the Portland Press Herald numerous times, often in glowing terms. He's a friend and former employer of Representative Decca DeLocke of South Portland. So it's a very well-connected guy. He had a nonprofit called Gateway Community Services Maine, and he had an LLC, Gateway Community Services LLC. Both of these received taxpayer contracts, grants. The LLC was able to bill Maine Care an average of $5 million over the last few years. And we found a program integrity audit.
You hear these LLCs, you have to think of the Bidens when you think of this stuff, because they had a ton of LLCs. We had no idea what they did. And these LLCs, we have an idea what they're supposed to do, but they don't actually do it. They're pretty much fronts to actually gather money and send to Somalia.
Yeah, the most sickening thing is the guy is in Kenya right now. So how would you even hold him accountable? You might be able to stop his business and freeze his money that he left here, which obviously the guy's not a dummy, so he probably has access to most of his money. But you can never put him in a situation where he has to face justice.
Where his LLC was audited and found to have overbilled Maine Care by close to $800,000 during a period from 2015 to 2017.
I am shocked.
And
I am shocked.
The Department of Health and Human Services says in the letter, basically they claim to have provided translation services and some other services that they couldn't prove. They didn't follow the rules. So there was a clawback initiative. But as recently as 2022, there's another letter from the Department of Health and Human Services where none of this money has been paid back. So apparently this debt was just allowed to float out there. And at the same time, Abdullahi Ali owes the Maine taxpayers close to $1 million. He's allowed to bill the same program that he overbilled to begin with. As all of this is happening, at the same time, Ali is in Kenyan media giving interviews in Somali saying that he has contributed to the paramilitary groups in Somalia. And this is as part of his presidential campaign to become the president of a semi-autonomous state in Somalia called Jubaland.
This is actually really bothersome and sickening. Once again, somehow taxpayer money was diverted to someone who was stealing and supporting what amounts to a terrorist organization. I mean, DC is broken. Anybody who doesn't realize that is just way far off.
Yeah, the thing is, when you hear what they're saying in that video, pretty much they're saying he's a warlord, money launderer, a weapons dealer, and terrorist. That's what it sounds like to me when I hear it. And he's American citizen now. And unfortunately, it seems like that this story right here isn't really getting any coverage nationally. The Somalian people in Minnesota is right now because it's in the billions. It looks like money was taken. Here it's in millions, so people aren't taking it as seriously. I'm sorry, this is pretty serious when you look at where the money went to and how crazy it is, because it went to him actually trying to run for president in a country, and also pretty much giving this money to terrorist organizations or militant groups. What's the difference? That obviously does not have the best interest of his supposedly adopted country of the United States.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, everyone on the news, Omar and all the different Congress people keep talking about everything that the Somalians have added. Well, I looked at some information, and the first Somalians came here in the 1930s. And we're talking like a dozen or two, okay? And that's really all we had until the 80s. I think it was like 81, when a bill was passed, and we started to get an influx of Somalis. They didn't build this country. No. And from what I can see, the greater majority of them came here for taxpayer assistance. And we got a lot of bad apples who are stealing a lot of money. So you know what? I don't know how many Somalis we need today. We don't need people who are ripping us off.
Now, first thing, I don't think it's just this group that's doing this. I think it's actually all groups. You could probably find white people, black people, Hispanics, all over the place doing this kind of stuff. It's just now this is getting national attention because of what's going on in Minnesota, because it's in the billions. And it's crazy. But guys, we're going to have to end the show. We really appreciate it. Please hit that like button, comment, and share this out to everybody.
Thanks for joining us, and have a wonderful weekend.
All right, there you have it, folks. Good information, and they're right. You're not going to hear much about this because it's only in the millions. Okay, unfreaking believable. Clicking on the Rumble link, it takes us over here. Show you that this does come from McWattersaffect. This video that I shared with you, I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and see what X22 report has to say regarding Trump is shutting down the central bank economic narrative and creating a new one. Okay, well, let's see what that's all about.
Investment decision. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. You can see Trump and his team, they are destroying the central bank narrative every single day, and it is getting worse and worse for the central bank system, because you have to remember what Trump is doing right now. He is now building the parallel economic system, which is bringing in income into this country, so we no longer have to bring income via borrowed money. And you can see as this income comes in, the entire economic system is going to get stronger and stronger. Plus, the system that he's building is gaining strength like we've never seen before. Now, what everyone is experiencing, where people say, oh, I still feel the inflation. Of course you do. Inflation is cumulative. Inflation doesn't go away. Can we counter inflation by lowering energy costs? Of course, Trump is doing that. Can we counter inflation by lowering the deficit? Of course we can. But does it get rid of the accumulated inflation that we have today? No, it doesn't. And you have to remember, during Biden's time, what did he do? He caused 6, 7, 8, 9% inflation. That just doesn't go away. Now, take that and add it to all the other inflation that we have experienced. This is what you're still experiencing, even though that Trump right now is building this very strong economic system. And I think JD Vance says it the best. My message to the American people who are still feeling like things are unaffordable, who are still feeling like things are rough out there, is look, we get it and we hear you. And we know there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of wood to chop because the Biden administration put us in such a very, very tough spot. And that's absolutely true. And it's not just Biden, it's every single president since the central bank came into existence, especially after we went off the gold standard in 1971. That's when things really started to go downhill. And this is what you've been experiencing this entire time. Actually, you could really put it this way. Everything that you're feeling right now is a culmination of everything going all the way back to 1971, because we're at 3,000% inflation right now. Yes, you're feeling the effects of this. What is Trump doing? He's trying to counter this every step of the way. And it's not an easy task because the system, and I'm talking about the central bank system, the system continually forces the currency to lose value. The system makes you work harder and harder to make ends meet. That's what people are feeling. But soon, that is going to change in a very big way, because once Trump's system becomes fully online and it's competing with the Federal Reserve System, you're going to see that Trump, he's going to start weaning us off the Federal Reserve System. And what is that going to do? It's going to bring your buying power back. Now, as we go into 2026, you're going to feel your buying power coming back quite a bit, because now you're already starting to see the lower energy costs. People are saying, okay, I go to the pump, at least that's not bad. We still have problems with other things that are still going up, because remember, inflation just doesn't stop. It always goes up, because if you're continually printing money and you're having it in circulation, the inflation doesn't go away. Now, what Trump did is he made the inflation not go up as much. Now, can he bring it to zero where it's static right now, where it's flatlined? Of course he can. What does that mean then? It means that all the other inflation is still there, but you're not feeling additional inflation. For example, if you're a person and you gained 100 pounds, you gained 100 pounds. And if you put 5 pounds on after that every single year, you still have the 100 pounds. You're just adding the weight slowly. If you add no weight, did you lose weight? No, you still have that weight that you gained. That's what people are experiencing. But think about it. As Trump lowers the interest rates, as he lowers energy costs, as he says, okay, here's the one big beautiful bill and you're going to get a tax refund, what are people going to experience? The people are going to experience, wait a minute, my buying power just came back. My buying power came back because I paid less in fuel. My buying power came back because I pay less in interest if the interest rates come down. My buying power comes back if I get a refund. Now, what happens when you start to wean everyone off the income tax? Yes, their buying power comes back. Did he solve the problem as of yet? No, but he's making people feel good and people are experiencing it. How does he solve the problem of inflation? He has to pay off the Federal Reserve. And in the end, that's exactly what he's going to do. And how do you solve it completely? You remove us from the Federal Reserve System and you then use the tariff system, the parallel economic system that he's creating right now. Once we have that, we're no longer borrowing currency. If we're not borrowing currency, that means we're not putting new currency into circulation, which means we're not going to see inflation. So all of a sudden, people are going to feel something very different. Now, every step of the way, people are going to feel this. And those people that are pissed off and angry at H-1B visas, you have to remember, Trump is putting everything into place to make sure that foreigners do not take our jobs. Now, we do need certain individuals to do certain tasks because, again, in this country, manufacturing has been moved out of this country. A lot of the college kids aren't really taking the classes that are needed to do certain jobs in this country. But that doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. But think about what Trump just did to actually curb the H-1B visa problem. Well, he decided that, hey, if you want to come here, you got to pay a $100,000 fee. Attorney General Dan Rayfield said, we're filing a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration unlawful new $100,000 fee for H-1B visas. So why would they be against this? I mean, if you don't want to pay the $100,000 fee, JD Vance says, just hire American. It's that simple. JD Vance also says, this is instructive, though, while I know there are many people in our coalition who rightly are angry about immigration fraud in our visa system, America, last Republicans and Democrats are teaming up to stop our efforts to address these issues. Don't blackpill, fight back. Amuse says, Democrats oppose Trump's 100,000 H-1B visa fee. I think their opposition is misplaced. The fee ensures that American companies can get the workers they can't find in the U.S. while ensuring that every American can get a job. And that's exactly what it does. And you could see, I do believe in the end, when people look back a little bit in time, they're going to see that it absolutely works. And you could see that the Fed, they're panicking right now because they're continually. Let's talk about how to protect ourselves online. Patriots breach us at virtualshield.com/subscription. Pushed into lowering the rates. Remember, they didn't want to lower the rates, but everything that Trump did, the tariff system that he built, actually trapped the Federal Reserve, and now they're forced to lower the rates slowly but surely. And you know what that's going to do. As the rates come down, people are going to feel a little bit of easing in their credit card bills. As the rates come down, it's going to spur economic activity in the car dealerships, in the automobile manufacturers. It's going to spur activity in the housing market. And when this happens, the Fed is going to look at this and go, holy crap, everyone's starting to see the economy's getting better. People are purchasing. This is something we can't allow to happen. And you can see the Fed, he's kind of, the Fed chair is kind of panicked about all this. Unusual Whales put this out and said, housing is going to be a problem. Fed Chair Powell said, we can raise and lower interest rates, but we don't really have the tools to address a secular housing shortage, structural housing shortage. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think we'll have a housing shortage, or do you think we're going to see a housing boom? I think we're going to see a housing boom because as the rates come down and people are making more money, people have jobs, all of a sudden you're going to see the housing market start to take off like we've never seen before. Plus, when you're deporting all the illegals, what else happens? You free up a lot of housing. You free up a lot of rentals. You free up pretty much everything. And what happens when you lower the rates? Well, everything really starts to take off. The Kobisi letter on X put this out and said, Trump is asked where he wants interest rates to be next year. His response, 1% and maybe lower than that. Think about that for a second. Think about where all of this is going. And Trump, he let everyone know that the economy is building and it's going to become very, very strong. Just like if you're working out. Yes, in the very beginning, you're flabby, you don't have the muscle tone. But the first day you do it, you don't say anything. You're sore. You're going through a change. Your muscles ache. You might want to give up, but you say, no, let's do it again tomorrow. Now, after a week, do people come out and say, wow, damn, you're chiseled? Or do people say, I don't see a difference? Are you doing anything? That's what normally happens. But later on, after 5 months, 8 months, 11 months, 12 months, people go, wow, what are you doing differently? Because you look different. You look more in shape. What's going on here? And that's exactly what Trump is doing with the economy. In the beginning, we're a little sore. It's left over from Biden. Trump now is putting everything into place. The country's a little sore. We're a little angry that things are still high, but fuel's coming down, so I feel good. The interest rates are coming down, so I feel good. And soon you're going to see the economy completely and utterly change. Trump, he put this out in Truth. He said, wow, the great Arthur Laffer, Ronald Reagan's economic whiz and highly respected by all, said in his speech last night that Donald Trump is the greatest president in history, bar none. Such an honor coming from a man of such wisdom. Also, he said that tariffs are working in a big way. Our country is rich and admired again. And it's absolutely true. And you can see that by Trump bringing in the tariff money, what is he doing right now? He is now changing the economic narrative of the central bank system, of the deep state players. And they are now panicked over this because what's going to happen is they won't be able to convince everyone that everything that Trump is doing is destroying the economic system. And as Trump brings in more and more currency via the tariffs, he's able to bring down the deficit. Eric Doherty put this out and said, the Trump White House just sunned fake news Margaret Brennan revealing the U.S. budget deficit will be $600 billion down this year. Kevin Hassett said the following, it's looking like the deficit for this year will be $600 billion lower than it was last year. That really helps. lower inflation. We've got the trade deficit cut in half from last year. All of these things are things that should continue to move us towards the Fed target of 2%. Don't let the experts lie to the American people. So let's think about this for a second. They're bringing down a deficit, and basically they're bringing down the inflation rate. And this is not the total inflation rate. Remember, the total inflation rate is around 3,000%. This is just an inflation rate right now, this year, 2%. So if we bring it down to 1%, this helps the people out because the inflation is not going up. Your value of the currency is not devaluing. It's slowing. Does that mean the food price is going to come way, way down? No, it doesn't. It just means you're not going to add on more inflation. So this is going to help the people while Trump brings the fuel prices down, while Trump gives you a refund, while he gives you a dividend, while he weans you off of the Federal Reserve and weans you off the income tax. This will benefit every single person in this country. And when people say, well, if this is happening, then we should have the debt. It should be coming down too. Why does it keep going up? Well, you have to remember the deficit and the debt are two different things. The U.S. budget deficit is the annual shortfall when government spending exceeds revenue in a given fiscal year. The national debt is the total accumulated amount owed from all past deficits. Essentially, the running total of borrowed money. So right there, it doesn't mean the debt just disappears. So basically, Trump now is making the case to the Federal Reserve that, look, we're bringing the inflation rate down. The economy looks good. Let's drop these rates very, very quickly. And again, just from before, Trump has told us that he wants the rates 1% or lower. And this is going to assist the people of this country. Yes, you're going to feel the hangover from the Biden administration, but that is about to end. I do believe when we're talking in 2026, probably around the springtime, people are going to see a completely different picture. Because when you look at the parallel economic system, it is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And soon it's going to overshadow the central bank system. Gunther Eagleman put this out and said, Trump just took a massive victory lap on the experts. He said, because of the tariffs, we've taken in $18 trillion. There's never been anything like it. The Biden admin took in less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We took in more than $18 trillion in 10 months. That's good. The tariffs are printing money, billions pouring in while protecting American jobs. The doomsayers were dead wrong. And you have to remember, when he says printing money, it's not really printing. This currency has already existed in the world. So we're not adding or subtracting. Basically, it's the existing currency. So if we got rid of the central bank and we just went on the tariff system, we would not see any inflation whatsoever because we're not creating any currency. We're not borrowing the currency from the central bank system. And I do believe in the end, this is exactly what Trump is going for. And people are probably saying, well, it doesn't use this $18 trillion to pay off the debt. First of all, I do believe that Congress, it's their job to decide where these funds go. And I think at this point in time, it's not time to pay off the Federal Reserve. Because once again, I think Trump wants to make sure that his system is completely up and running. He just introduced the gold card. I do believe we're going to see drilling happening. Remember, Trump, in the end, he wants all the leverage to go up against the central bank system. You don't want to do it. You don't want to attack the enemy too soon. So if we bring fuel prices way below $2, which I do believe it eventually was going to happen, it's probably going to go below $1. And if we have the gold card working and we have people buying the gold card and we have billions and billions of dollars coming in via that, it's going to be absolutely incredible. As the regulations are removed and the leases all of a sudden come in effect in 2026, you're going to see oil companies drill like crazy, which means this is going to assist the United States and we could sell this oil across the world. So I do believe what Trump wants is he wants the entire tariff system, the parallel economic system, to be as strong as possible to go up against the central bank system. Because again, we just don't need enough to pay off the debt. We also need enough to continue to have everything operational. And I do believe in the end, once all of these things come into play, that's exactly what's going to happen. And we're getting closer and closer to that. This is why the central bank will probably fight back with everything that they have. Remember, the central bank deep state players, they're all one and the same pretty much. And you can see that in the end, they will fight back with everything they have to maintain control, because they don't want to lose control. Because if they lose control here in the United States, they're going to lose control across the world. Because again, they spread their system across the world. And I think their system is about to end, and they don't want it to. So yes, are they going to battle Trump every step of the way? If you go back in time, what did they do to Abraham Lincoln? They shot him. Why? Because he issued the greenback. That is the currency without the central bank system. When you look at John F. Kennedy, what did he do? He released a silver certificate. That is the currency without the central bank system. They got rid of them, and they removed the silver certificates. Ronald Reagan, he wanted to audit the gold. What did they do to him? They took a shot at him. Trump, his mission is to do what? Take back full control of the country and remove the central bank system and give us back our financial freedom by going back to the Constitution. Did they try to assassinate him? Absolutely. They don't want this to happen.
Nope.
So yes, will they push back? But I do believe whatever they do with Trump's parallel economic system, it's going to be tough to bring down the entire system. It's going to be tough to say, hey, we need to go into a great reset. We need to go into a central bank digital currency. All of that is going to fail. None of that is going to work, because I do believe everything that Trump has done, he put safeguards into place. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe.
Okay, let me go ahead and click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from X22 Report.
More in
I'm
shape.
following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Now, okay, he's being very optimistic if he thinks gas is going to get below $1 a gallon. I mean, number one, there's an 18.5-cent federal excise tax on every gallon of gas that is sold in America. Every time you put 20 gallons of gas in your car, you're paying $3.70 to the government for that. Here in Indiana, there's an 18-cent excise tax on gasoline, plus a 7% sales tax. So, I mean, right there is 43 and a half cents a gallon on just by taxes. So, for gas to get down below $1 a gallon, I think that's being very optimistic. But the thing is, Trump is moving things in the right direction. I mean, after paying $3 and $4 a gallon for gas, now it's down in the $2 range, $2.50, $2.75. That is definitely an improvement. I can tell a difference in our budget here in this house. Okay, with that being said, let's jump back here and see what Wendy is talking about when she says a legend lost. And I think she's talking about Meathead. And there we go. Let's check this out and see. I remember watching him All in the Family. Okay.
Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. I looked at a poll over the weekend. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio Network. I'm trying to find it because I did not connect it to my rundown. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this was kind of interesting. It says just in, devastating new poll for Indiana rhinos finds a whopping 72% of state Republican voters support the 2026 redistricting, while only 17% oppose it. And I was thinking to myself, now, wait a minute, that's a pretty big number. So we all are on the same page that if and when Democrats regain control of the House, they will stop at nothing to do anything they can to get back at the Republicans for trying to reset reality, right? They're going to redraw as many districts as they can. They're going to try to gerrymander as fully as they can. They're going to do whatever they can to stack the court. They're going to do whatever it takes because Republicans, Trump and co, have kneecapped them financially. They've gone after all of their favorite fundraisers. The deep, dark money that comes in from out of town and out of country. Think George Soros. The kneecapping of USAID, Act Blue, now Marco Rubio funneling money away from the NGOs. They are kneecapping at every turn the conduits, the spigots of cash flow to the Democrats, right? And so we have this opportunity in the majority in the House to redistrict the way Democrats have gerrymandered in the past. And Indiana senators, overwhelmingly 21 Indiana Republican senators, said no to an Indiana House-backed plan to redraw the lines, which would have given, I believe, Republicans a 7-0 advantage. And the Republicans there were like, no. So I look at this poll and I'm like, so what is it? Is it truly that 80% or so, 4 out of 5 Republicans in the state of Indiana support the redistricting, but these lawmakers don't? And because almost all of them are up for re-election, 18 of the 21 are up for re-election, 3 are not coming back to serve again. So is that what it is? That they're all trying to save face? But it's interesting. And this is where I hate having to look into details. This is the detail. Polling memo. This is from Politico. And this was from Politico in August. Politico memo reveals risk for Indiana Republicans as they weigh redistricting. This actual poll shows the opposite of what was hitting my inbox over the weekend. That in the state of Indiana, overwhelmingly, the people there don't believe it should be a partisan thing. It shouldn't be all or nothing. It should be something independent. Something that a commission, something that a group of people who are selected in some kind of a fair way, however that's done, I don't know, decides, and not something that's pushed only to benefit the Republicans and not something that's pushed only to benefit the Democrats. Now, here is my jam with this. I have a problem with this. While this might be correct from Politico from August, that 81% of respondents agreed that redistricting should be conducted in a balanced way. That's a poll put out in the summer warning Republicans in Indiana, in the Senate and the House, you might not want to do that. I don't believe that poll either. So what do? What's the answer? If you don't believe polls and you can't believe politicians, right? You can't believe the media to report honestly. You can't listen to the Democrats because they lie. You can't listen to the Republicans because they lie. Where do you go? What do you do? How do you remedy this? I don't know. But just as guilty as putting out a poll that says, hey, everybody, to try to get the knives out for these Indiana Senate Republicans, who I don't understand in many ways, but I do in others. This is my rub today. I'm almost on the fence. It's like I'm on the fence about what I want to say about Rob Reiner. It is neither the time nor the place. And by the way, didn't even come into my mind today is politics. The guy should not be dead. He should not have been brutally murdered. And kind of that's where I am. We shouldn't be in the position we're in. We shouldn't be looking at $37, $38, $40 trillion as a national debt. We shouldn't freaking be here. We shouldn't look around our communities and see a bunch of Muslims walking around or a bunch of people who are clearly from Africa who don't have our same culture or values. We shouldn't be in this position to say, you know what? I didn't vote for that. Why are you here? How much am I paying for you to get free stuff? This is where I am today, on the fence. This is where I am with every story. And you know what I want? I want to hit the brakes. I wish we could put today in a bubble, in a vacuum, and say to the president and his administration, go for a year. Do what you do to the best of your ability. Let everybody get out of your way. Make the media shut the hell up about it. Make Hakeem Jeffries put a sock in his mouth and let this administration do what a landslide voted them to do. Instead of all this nitpicky nonsense. Oh, did you see the picture of Trump and Epstein and the girls and all this? Oh, did you hear the one about blah, blah, blah? Oh, what about Minnesota and the Somalians? Oh, Tim Walz is saying it's really white men who's the problem. Really? I feel you. Sometimes you just want to turn it off and put on a good movie and forget how. When we come back on the Wendy Bell Road, we'll talk about America's Somalia problem because it keeps getting worse. Keeps getting worse. Suitcases full of cash. And TSA agents knew about it going out of Minnesota's airport, or I should say Minneapolis's. Bombshell next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, let's go ahead and get this up here. It's going to be coming back about the 35, 36-minute mark.
3,000.
I'm glad that Rumble isn't having a buffering problem like they have had for the last couple of nights. Seems like they've got that all squared away. Thank goodness.
Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. What would you think if I told you that I believe the Democrats in power in Minnesota were completely in on the Somalian theft of what? Between $1 and probably $10 billion of COVID welfare funds, that they were in on it. And they didn't stop it because they were worried that the Somalian community would stop voting for them. I mean, are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? You're willing to let taxpayer dollars be stolen, willing to allow it to happen underneath your nose, Tim Walz, under your nose, Attorney General Keith Ellison, because you want to get reelected. See, what percentage of our political problems go away immediately with term limits? 90%? 95%? See, when you're not constantly running for re-election and then you have to see the job as an honor, as a limited window to make an actual difference to your community and to your country, do you stop endlessly running for re-election? Do you stop endlessly looking for new ways to make money? Because the only way for you to win is to continually be on the hamster wheel of raising money, and then you invite dark characters into your orbit because you're so desperate to win. Like, I don't get that. I don't get that. Term limits, 95% of this garbage goes away. It becomes intolerable. People who broke the law to come into this country to then steal off of the goodness and the blindness of the people of this country. 95% of this stuff doesn't happen if you have term limits. There is a solution. And if we would rise together in some fashion and agree and make this a thing, and then there were members of our elected leadership who voted against our wishes, that tells you everything. I want you to hear Liz Collin, Alpha News, phenomenal journalist. She sits down over the weekend with a former TSA agent who used to work in the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Hasn't worked there in a couple years. Did for about 5-7 years. And she said in that time, she noticed Somalian men in pairs bringing in luggage that would go through the screening, just like you and I would get our luggage and things screened. They would get flagged and their bags would be searched, and inside their bags would be something that you couldn't even possibly imagine. Here's Liz Collin, audio soundbite number 1.
This sounds like something out of a spy movie. People going through security and getting on planes with suitcases filled with millions of dollars in cash. Tell us what you've actually seen as a TSA agent during the time you worked there.
Well, I've actually seen a lot of things, but the most shocking is exactly that. I saw suitcases filled with millions of dollars of cash, and the couriers were always Somali men traveling in pairs. And they got through the checkpoint. It just really absolutely blew my mind the first time you open a suitcase and you see millions of dollars of cash. And typically what would happen is a Leo or a law enforcement officer would come, check their credentials. I don't know what kind of questions they asked them, but their IDs were always documented, and probably their plane tickets as well. So there is a trail of that out there. And I would believe with all the cameras at the airport that if they started there, they could probably find each and every individual that brought money through the checkpoint.
How hard would it be? You just have to pick a start date. Go back and review the video. How long do you keep the video? I have no idea. But she says that was not even the half of it. Also saw, what, suitcases full of passports and other such documents? Liz Collin part 2 here. She says, well, why are you speaking up now? Listen to the TSA agent.
Why did you want to come forward and share your story?
Because I think Minnesotans need to know that billions of dollars left through the airport. And it was cash. It was literally suitcases full of cash.
Even fraud in Minnesota is now making national headlines. It still seems, though, like elected officials aren't really doing anything about it or trying to ignore it.
It is so frustrating. It was frustrating when I was a TSA agent, and it's certainly frustrating now watching the state's administration doing what they're doing.
See, I want to hit the gas on that. No, ma'am, it's not frustrating. It is an outrage. It is an unacceptable outrage, period. Where are the throngs of people? Where is the demand for answers? I don't know. Happening right under their noses. They knew it. They saw it. They okayed it. They cleared it. And it was a cycle. Money out. Who needs 1 trillion or billion or whatever the hell dollars it was on a tarmac when you can get a couple Somali dudes to rip you off every day or whatever and fly millions of dollars of your money out of the country? Nothing to see here. We don't want to miss our votes. What? How about this? CBS News forced to cover the story on what the convicted Minnesota Somalis spent their money on. Just so you know, here you go. This is your money at work.
A honeymoon in the Maldives, a fleet of luxury cars. Here's a box with more than $270,000 in cash. This was all evidence from a new trove of files obtained exclusively by CBS News, showing how a group of convicted Minnesota fraudsters spent taxpayer dollars. One text message reads, "You are going to be the richest 25-year-old.
We're not even at the end of the beginning of our pursuit of the stolen money and of the people who stole it.
U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen leads the office digging into the wave of COVID-era fraud that hit Minnesota.
So how much money are we talking about stolen? I can say with great comfort, well in excess of $1 billion.
In the past 3 years, 87 defendants have been charged, 61 convicted. The majority of them are Somali American. Minnesota has the nation's largest Somali population. The perpetrators are accused of ripping off state-run programs intended to feed low-income kids, house the disabled, and provide services to autistic children.
This was a get-rich scheme.
Andy Luger was the U.S. attorney who first examined this fraud. He left in January.
One of the things we discovered is that a number of the people involved were buying investment property, resort property in Kenya.
Wire transfers reviewed by CBS News also show more than $1 million went to Chinese banks.
Of course. You there helping people, right? We need to feed those during COVID. Children, yes. There's an autism problem. Oh, clinics everywhere. Home health care. You have somebody disabled in your life who wants to live an active, independent lifestyle but needs a little help. We're here to help. All of it was ripped off. And these idiots knew about it and let it happen. Now we understand Scott Besson and Secretary or the Treasury, they're apparently in on the investigation and they are following the trail of money. You know, here's an idea. And I know I'm not a rocket scientist here, but I'm going to say this. All right. So what if we get that TSA agent from Liz Collin and ask her, give me a window of opportunity. Give me a window of when we should start looking at video. Does the video exist anymore? Do you think it's still going on? How do we access it? Right? Let's go and see. Pick a window a month. See how many times Somalian men walked through. How many times their bags got flagged. How many possible millions of dollars under their noses was sent away to whomever in Somalia, Africa, China, you name it. Who cares? It's yours. And you're not getting it back. Then did you hear Tim Walz? Tim Walz has asked a question over the weekend about what he wants to hear from the Somalian community that's been robbing the city, the state blind. And somehow Tim Walz comes up with a way to blame white men. I mean, you cannot make it up. Listen.
It's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they have committed. I think for the community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there's secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then victimizing the community themselves by signing them up. Because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no idea I was in this program. So I think it's asking us then, you know, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general.
Oh, you know what? You were flagged about it 5 years ago, you putz. How much has been donated into your coffers, Tim? Isn't that outrageous? Never any accountability, right? And then there's this. Do you guys hear the story about Keith Ellison's son, Attorney General of Minnesota? His son happens to be on the city council in Minneapolis, except he's a no-show for the last 5 months because he's been doing something else. It's almost like everybody's trying to scam the system, right? Listen.
This morning, Jeremiah Ellison was among the outgoing city council members to get an honorary resolution for their years of service.
So I give my gratitude to the North Side.
But one issue not mentioned, where he's been the final 5 months of his term, Harvard University as a Loeb Fellow. Our Jay Coles first broke this story this summer, and it caught some off guard.
His Ward 5 constituents deserve a council member who shows up.
Ellison is splitting his time between here and Cambridge, Massachusetts. He's still earning his $110,000 city salary on top of a $57,000 stipend from Harvard. Now 5 Investigates has obtained these internal emails showing Ellison's office wanted more. They requested the Ward 5 budget to cover travel expenses, specifically round-trip travel between Minneapolis and Boston, so Ellison could attend city council meetings every other week from August to the end of the year. In response to Ellison's request, the city clerk acknowledged the prestigious program, but said it's a personal professional development opportunity, and travel for this purpose is not allowed.
It's very disconcerting.
We sat down with 2 very engaged Ward 5 residents.
As a retired math teacher, I can't imagine asking my students to pay for me to commute to and from school.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to show up. And then I'm going to ask you to cover me and pay for my travel expenses. It's so brazen. It's so common. It's so in your face, and nobody ever is held accountable. Have we had enough of that? Because I'll speak for me. Yes. Yes, I have. I'm going to bet you have too. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that here. Let me show you that Wendy is, this video does come from Wendy Bell. This video does come from Wendy Bell. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. I want to share some information here from Augusta Gold. Let's go ahead and take a look. Well, never mind. I changed my mind. We're not going to do that. But I do want to come over here and show you that I did copy the live chat into a comment. Susie Poll 2016 just gave me a comment here a little bit ago. Shoot, I'm late again and missed the beginning. I'll have to, yeah, well, that's fine. You can do that. I mean, I'm glad you finally made it. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much. Okay, so let me go ahead and make this live chat a permanent part of this video. Okay, let me remind you folks that these videos that I shared with you do come directly from the producer's channel. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out, but I do like to give you a nice combination of information that's out there of all the fraud and all the theft that's going on of our taxpayer dollars. No wonder we're trillions of dollars in debt, but hopefully Donald Trump can get that squared away. These videos that I shared with you are videos that I do post on Murtech.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. And if you're interested in more information like this, the link to Murtech.com is in the description box below. Now, I wish I could share all that information with you, but unfortunately I don't have time to do that, and that's why I have my daily news wrap-up coming up here about 9:30. If we come over here and take a look at the playlist, I'm going to start off with some Dr. Steve Turley, then I'm going to share the rest of Wendy Bell. We got some Black Conservative Perspective, American Center for Law and Kash Patel, American Center for Law and Justice, Kash Patel, FBI disrupts planned LA attack. That's good stuff. Also, X22 report, his geopolitical information. I already shared his financial information with you. Barry Cunningham, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, and some more Barry Cunningham. So we've got a full lineup here. Should last throughout the night. With that being said, though, go ahead and take a break. Grab a donut and a cup of coffee, or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, and meet me back here at 9:30, and we'll get this going. Give me a chance to go through and see if there's anything else I need to add to my playlist and get my Rumble Studio set up. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for spending your time with me. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.